Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we just wait 2 minutes more and later we have started our lecture. PPT is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in the last lecture we discussed about the electromagnetic wave, where it is a combination of the electrical field as well as the magnetic field. So if you see the electromagnetic wave, this is called the transverse wave. This is one kind of a transverse wave. The reason is any one of the field which may be a perpendicular to the direction of the propagation. So for that, if you see the figure, the red line or red sine wave, which is indicate the electrical field, and the blue line is indicate the magnetic field. So if you see the components for the electrical field, which is moving from y direction, but they are propagate in a z direction. In same case, in terms of the magnetic field, the component which is present in a x direction, but they are propagate in a z direction. So basically this kind of electromagnetic wave, which is the function of the z as well as the t, because this signal is also time varying change, and they are also changing with respect to the space is nothing but a direction of the propagation which is mentioned with a z. So we can write down this electrical field, which is the function of the z as well as the t. So why we are utilize this one? Because it have a velocity is almost similar to the velocity of the light. So that's why it is a speed of the transmission is very large in terms of the distance. So when you are transmitting these waves in a different medium, it may be possible the velocity of the signals will be the change according to the electrical properties, epsilon as well as the mu. So when you are considering this wave in a free space, your epsilon and mu, which is similar to the free space mu 0 and free space epsilon 0, but the conductivity should be the 0. For any kind of your dielectric, it may be possible lossless as well as the lossy, like a glass, epoxy, FR4. These are the different example of the dielectric, where the electrical properties which may be slightly changed, because you have to also find out the relative permittivity as well as the permeability, epsilon r and mu r. For the good conductor, conductivity should be the infinite, but your mu parameter, which is similar to the mu r into mu 0. So we discussed when you are transmitting this wave in terms of the different medium, what's happened with a velocity and what's happened with a waves. So we have taken one mathematical equation for any particular electromagnetic wave which have a three main components: amplitude, frequency, as well as the phase. So A is mentioned with amplitude, omega is your angular frequency, T is the time, Z is the direction of the propagation where the signal is moving, and beta, which is mentioned with a phase shift constant, which may be similar to the phi. Normally, if you see the equation A sine omega t plus or maybe minus phi, but phi they are mentioning in terms of the beta z, where beta is the phase shift constant, which can be measured from radian per meter, and z is the direction of the propagation. Whenever if you see the equation A sine omega t plus beta z, then it may be possible the signal is moving in a negative z direction. And if it is the minus beta z, omega t minus beta z, then the direction it should be positive. So it is moving in a positive z direction. So you can easily identify this sine wave, which is a function of the two parameters z and t. In one of the figure, they are considering the z is constant and the time is varying. In second figure, they are indicate the t is constant and the z is varying. So based on this, we derive the phase shift constant beta, which is nothing but a angular frequency divided by its velocity. But velocity in a medium, it may be possible there are so many velocities, like a velocity of the free space which is 3 into 10 raised to 8, but same signal if I given in any medium which is the bounded, like any kind of your wire, any kind of your dielectric, any kind of your conductor, then this velocity it's not similar to the 3 into 10 raised to 8. It may be slightly degraded. So that's why beta it depends upon the angular frequency 2 pi f divided by its velocity, which is mentioned with a u. So if I put the value of omega and u, we are getting the equation of the beta, which is the 2 pi by lambda. So you can see, based on this, we can also find out the phase shift constant. It means your signal phase will be slightly changed whenever the frequency variation is there. Suppose if I putting the lambda is equal to c by f, you maybe identify the beta values. These are the different representation of the waves in terms of the different location. One is t is equal to 0, second is t divided by 4, and third one is the t divided by 2. And in terms of the distance, it is also whenever the t is equal to t by 2, already you are knowing to complete the one samples or one cycle you require the lambda distance. So for t by 2 you require the lambda by 2, and for the t by 4 you require the distance is lambda by 4. So based on this we can find out the location of the waves. Already discussed, this is the positive z direction movement and this is the negative z direction movement. If you see omega t minus beta z, which is positive, and omega t plus beta z, which is the negative z direction movement. This is the electromagnetic wave starting with a range of the frequency 10 raised to 6 up to the 10 raised to 20. So these are the different waves which we are utilizing in a day-to-day life, like a microwave, FM radios, AM radios, TV transmission, ultraviolet rays, X-rays, gamma rays. Okay. So these are the different applications with a different frequency range. Similar, they are mentioning the frequency range with different uses of this frequency. We are taking an example where we are trying to find out the three main parameters. If you see the equation, the electric field is given to you, and they are indicate how we can find out the direction of the propagation, beta, and the time which may be required to travel a distance is lambda by 2, and you to draw the waveform at t is equal to t0, t by 4, and t divided by 2. So you can easily find out the direction of the propagation by seeing the equation. You can see it's a 10 raised to 8t plus beta x. So it's a minus minus x. So it becomes a plus. So that's why this signal is moving in a negative x direction. You can easily calculate the beta. Either you can write down the 2 pi by lambda. It's also fine. You can find out the lambda based on this frequency. Otherwise, you can also use the beta is equal to angular frequency omega divided by its velocity. Okay. Right now, if you see this figure example, they are mentioning the electric field which is moving in a free space. So that's why your u, which is similar to the velocity of the light, it is 3 into 10 raised to 8. Okay. This is only happen with a free space. But suppose same example, if I'm considering electrical field in a some dielectric, and they are asking about the same thing, then you must have to consider the velocity in terms of the medium, which may be given to you. So I can easily find out the beta, and you can also find out the time required to take a distance of lambda by 2. So how you can find out? For the one complete cycle, you require the distance is lambda, and for the lambda by 2, it's basically half, positive half cycle. So distance is also, in terms of the distance is lambda by 2, and in terms of the time, it is a t by 2. So you can see t by 2, this is the time required to complete one half cycle. So t by 2, instead of the t, they are considering the frequency, it's a 1 upon f, and we can also find out the f based on the 10 raised to 8. Otherwise, you can convert into omega is equal to 2 pi by f. So instead of the f, you can mention this equation in terms of the omega. It's a 2 pi divided by 2 omega, and put the omega over here. Omega is already given. It is 50 cos 10 raised to 8. It is omega. And if you simplify this equation, you may be getting the answer, which is the time required for the distance which may be traveled is lambda by 2. It means it is a half cycle. Same way, you can also plot it at the t is equal to 0, t is equal to t by 4, and t is equal to t by 2. So based on this, we have taken one wave propagation in a lossy dielectric medium. For that, you require the Maxwell's equation in a time domain. So curl of E and curl of H bar equation we are considering. Curl of E bar is equal to minus del B upon del T, and curl of H bar is equal to J plus del D by del T. Now, these two equations you have to convert in terms of the frequency domain. So that's why del by del T term, which may be replaced, it's equal to J omega. J omega is what? It's a conversion of the time domain to the frequency. Like it's almost similar to the Laplacian in terms of it is S. Now it is a frequency domain, so it's a omega. So you are getting the j omega term, and instead of the beta, you can put the mu into h. So finally, you are getting the equation number 3 on your screen, and you can refer the equation 4 by just putting the j is equal to sigma into E, and d is equal to d is equal to epsilon into E. And instead of the del by del t, you can put the j omega. So if you simplify this equation, you may be getting the E is common, so that's why you can separate out the E. Okay. So you are getting this, just wait. So if you see the equation 3 and 4, both are in a frequency domain. Okay. Now see, if you see these two equations, in one side it is the magnetic field, second side it is the electrical field. So you can easily not find out the electrical field. So what we are doing, we are just taken the curl of any one of the equation, either equation 3 or equation 4. But first we are started with equation 3. So if you take the curl, you may be getting the equation 3, which is mentioned in a second times. Okay, because curl is only applicable for the vector. So in a right hand side, if you see the equation j omega mu into h, and h is the vector form, h is the magnetic field. So you can write down the del cross h. Okay. Now this left hand side, curl of E, which can be solved by using the vector analysis. So what is exactly meaning of this one? If you find out the curl of E bar, and if you find out this right hand side, like a del multiply with a del dot A minus del square A, both the equation are giving me the similar answer. So it's a basically vector identity they are utilized, and left hand side will be replaced with this equation del dot A minus del square A. Okay, in a right hand side, if you find out the value j omega mu into del cross h, so del cross h we have to replace with equation number 4, and if you replace the equation number 4, finally you are getting this equation j omega mu sigma plus j omega epsilon into E. Now, if you see this equation, this del dot E will be 0 because in terms of the time varying behavior, it should be the 0. So that's why you can refer the equation number 1, del dot E is equal to 0. But for the static field, it not be a 0. So finally, we are getting the minus del square E is equal to this some constant into E. Okay, this constant can be replaced with a gamma square. Constant can be replaced with a gamma square because all are the some constant value, and gamma is nothing but a your propagation constant. Okay. Why it is something like there indicate whenever the any waves which is moving in any medium, it will be affected by the medium either in terms of the amplitude part, either in terms of the frequency part. Clear? So these two phenomena will be replaced with this gamma square, where gamma is called as the propagation constant. And we just elaborate this equation in terms of the gamma, which is equal to alpha plus j beta. So this equation del square E is equal to gamma square E, which is called as the Helmholtz equation. Which is called as the Helmholtz equation. In both the sides, you are getting the electrical field. Okay. So from this equation, you can easily find out this gamma square parameter, which depends upon your angular frequency, some conductivity part, and some electrical and magnetic properties of the material. So this gamma square, which can be basically what? It's a combination of the attenuation plus phase shift constant. So that's why you may be getting the term which may be alpha plus j beta. Now same thing we derived for the magnetic field. Okay, this equation is only for the electrical field, and same field you can derive with a magnetic field. For that same process you have to repeat, but you have to take the curl of the fourth equation. On your screen you can identify curl of h bar is equal to sigma plus j omega epsilon into E. So to take the curl of this equation, and you have to replace the value of del cross E in this equation, and finally you are getting the this equation, del square H is equal to gamma square H. You can also verify it. Method is almost similar. Whatever the method we are following to derive this del square E is equal to gamma square E, same method you have to follow. Only you have to just take the curl of the second equation. Now, instead of this gamma square, they can replace the value which is equal to alpha plus j beta. Why it is something like this? You can see this constant gamma square on your screen. You can identify gamma square is equal to j omega mu sigma plus j omega epsilon. So if you separate out the real part and imaginary part, what you are getting? What you are getting the real part over here? Any answer from your side? You may be getting the minus omega square mu epsilon. Just multiply this term, you may be getting the real part as well as the imaginary part. You can see it is mentioned over here. J omega mu sigma, which is called the imaginary part, and this is our real part. Why it is necessary? Because already you are knowing that attenuation is always in a real part. So that's why they are just separate out this real part as well as the imaginary part from the right hand side, and they are putting the value with a alpha plus j beta in a left hand side. Instead of the gamma, now they are replacing the value alpha and beta. Alpha is the attenuation constant and beta is your phase shift constant. So they are putting alpha plus j beta whole square, and they are open the bracket, so that's why alpha square plus j2 alpha beta plus beta square, and they are just compare this equation such a way that you can easily identify the alpha and beta. And the simplified equation you can identify from this particular slide, which is mentioned on this. So alpha is your attenuation constant and beta is your phase shift constant. Attenuation means your amplitude value is degraded, which can be identified based on the alpha, and your frequency is slightly changed, or maybe your phase is changed according to your frequency. Then you can identify as the beta, and combination of these two, which is indicate the propagation constant. So these are simple definition of the alpha and beta. It's a rate of the decay of the wave in the medium, which can be measured in Napier per meter, and for the beta, which is the measure of the phase shift per unit length, which may be measured in terms of the radian per meter. So if you see the any lossless medium, lossless means there is a no loss, ideal situation, then there is a no amplitude degradation, means whatever you are transmitted similar you are getting. So that's why it is indicate the attenuation constant will be the 0 for the lossless medium, but for the lossy medium it has some values. Now what they are doing, they are using this equation del square E minus gamma square E is equal to 0, which is called it as a Helmholtz equation, or maybe it's a Laplacian equation, and they are trying to find out the solution of the electrical field, because from this equation what we are interested to find out the electric field. Okay, so I'm not going to detail of how you can find out the solution, but I just give the method how you can find out the solution. Okay. So you can see over here, for that you require the solution of the Laplacian, because it is a second order differential equation. So that's why just take this equation del square E is equal to gamma square E. Now instead of the E, now electrical field can be represented in terms of the component. It means Ex, Ey and Ez. So you can see del square E, and if you write down the Laplacian of this equation, it is similar to over here. Del square E z upon del x square plus del square E z upon del y square plus del square E upon del z square equal to gamma square Ez. This is the Laplacian we are applying from the left hand side. Now if you see this two term is not necessary, the reason is your signal is exactly moving in which direction? Z direction. So that's why this component have a no meaning, Ex and Ey. Only you to consider the term which is the Ez, which means these two are just cancel out, only the term is del z square is present, you can see. So they are mentioning this equation. Okay. Now this you can see E which is mentioned with a Z. E right now which is mentioned with a Z. Z is what? It's a space in which direction your signal is moving. It moving in a positive Z direction, it moving in a negative Z direction. But right now we don't know exactly the direction of the electrical field which is present in a Z direction. So that's why instead of this Ex Z, they are mentioning this equation E0 e raised to minus gamma Z plus E0 e raised to gamma Z. What is the meaning of this one? E0 is the amplitude and e raised to minus gamma Z, which is indicate your signal which is moving in a Z direction, but it is exponentially decrease with a how much time? It's a exponential decrease with a gamma time, because gamma is your attenuation constant and the gamma is equal to alpha plus j beta, which is attenuation plus phase shift constant. So this is basically what the E0 e raised to minus gamma Z term, which is considered as a movement in a Z direction. And already you are knowing the exponential your signal will be degraded whenever you are going with a distance in a positive Z direction. And the second term E0 e raised to gamma Z. How they are getting the gamma? It's a minus gamma minus Z. So your signal is moving in a negative Z direction. So that's why they becomes a plus. So they have taken both the signals, positive Z direction and the negative Z direction. And instead of this one, they are just taken the equation in terms of the time varying behavior. So that's why they are multiply the term which is the e raised to j omega t, and they are just taken the real part of the Exs, because e raised to minus gamma Z, you can write down it's a sine and cos term. Okay, so you can see now electrical field, which is the function of the Z and T, is already discussed. This is the Ez term, and you are multiply with e raised to j omega t, because it is a exponentially change with respect to time. So that's why you may be getting this equation e raised to minus alpha Z by just putting the value of alpha Z. How you are getting it? Instead of the gamma, you can replace the alpha plus j beta. So e raised to minus alpha z and e raised to minus j beta z. Okay, and you are multiply with the e raised to j omega t. So they are just combined and they are just separate out the j term. You can see over here. And from this equation, they are just identify the real values and real values mentioned over here. E raised to zt, e0, e raised to minus alpha z. Now see, E0 is the initial maximum amplitude of your signals, and they are multiplied with a e raised to minus alpha z. Alpha is what? It's a constant, and z is what? This is the point at which you are interested to find out the magnitude. So these are the amplitude degradation, and the cos omega t minus beta z, it's a real part of your signals. So the exactly signal is looking like this way. So this is the wave which is moving in a lossy dielectric medium. So e raised to zt exponentially decrease with a how much? E0 e raised to minus alpha z. Initially you can see the equation is only E0, which have either sine or cos term. But now they are modify E0 e raised to minus alpha z. And they are moving in a positive z direction. You can easily identify the signal is moving in a z direction, which is the time varying behavior, and it is exponential decrease with a distance. Now same method you have to apply to derive the magnetic field, because see, this equation is only applicable for the electrical field. How you can identify it? There is the no components related to your magnetic field. Okay, now already you are knowing right now this x direction component is present. It means the magnetic field have a y direction. Okay, so we are not discuss about how you can find out. The method is almost similar, because if you see the equation, if you see this movement of the signals from this one, if the signal have a electrical field in this y direction, it means ey component is present. Then the magnetic field have a hx components. Both are the sine wave. So if you derive the equation of this magnetic field, you may be getting the similar one. You may be getting the similar one. Instead of this E, you can consider as a h zt is equal to h0 e raised to minus alpha z, because they are also moving in a z direction, cos omega t minus beta z. But this term is changed. Instead of the ax, now it is ay. So you can identify this one, this one. See these signals, h0 e raised to minus alpha z. They are the real part, because they are not find out the real part, so that's why they are mentioned with the re, but it's a cos omega t minus beta z. But instead of the ax, now it is ay. So if I know the electric field, I can easily find out this magnetic field components, which is the hy. And based on this, they are introduced one more parameter, which is considered the intrinsic impedance. And intrinsic impedance, which is nothing but a ratio of the E0 upon the H0. It's a magnitude part of the electrical field to the magnitude part of your magnetic field. Okay. So intrinsic impedance, which is mentioned over here, eta, which may be represented with eta is equal to E0 upon H0. And if I take the ratio, you may be getting it's a 120 pi. Okay. So for if you are transmitting the any waves in a free space has also some impedance, which is the intrinsic impedance, which have a value, it's a 120 pi. Later on discuss how you can identify it's a 120 pi. But right now you just consider the eta, which is equal to E0 upon H0. So this two equation is important. One is this one, intrinsic impedance. Second is the HZT, and third is this one. So if electrical field is given to you, someone is asking an example, find out the magnetic field. So I can easily find out this equation from this one, or I can easily find out the magnetic field, or it may be vice versa. So these are the final electrical field and magnetic field you can identify over here. This is the similar signals. Instead of this one, they are replacing the E0 upon eta. Eta is your intrinsic impedance, which is the 120 pi. We are not going to detail of this for this theta part. This is sufficient for the movement in a waves in a lossy dielectric. Okay. Now same waves, if I am considering a lossless dielectric, then you to consider the conductivity should be the 0, and epsilon, which may be replaced with epsilon 0 mu r, and mu, which is equal to mu 0 into mu r. So the difference of this lossy and lossless is, if you are dealing with a lossy, then it has some values in terms of the alpha. But if you consider the lossless, then the alpha term is 0. How you can identify? Just see the signals of gamma square. Gamma square, this is general equation. Gamma square is equal to j omega mu sigma plus j omega epsilon. Now if I put the conductivity should be the 0, then you are getting gamma square is equal to minus omega square mu epsilon. Okay. So it's only indicate for the lossless dielectric, I can easily identify the attenuation is 0. By default, you can see the term, it's a lossless. Lossless means there is a no loss. It's only happen with a ideal situation when there is a medium is having no noise. Okay. So whenever there is a no noise, you can write down the alpha term is 0. Alpha is 0. It means gamma is equal to only j beta. It's a only imaginary part. Okay. So you can identify this equation, alpha is equal to 0 and gamma is equal to, it becomes a j beta, and you can easily identify this beta term. The difference of this one, the intrinsic impedance will be the change. Intrinsic impedance will be the change. Okay. So you can see the intrinsic impedance for this lossless dielectric, it's a ratio of the mu upon epsilon, which is equal to 125. So see, if I replace the value of mu and epsilon, okay, what we are interested to find out the intrinsic impedance for the free space. So free space means you epsilon 0. So if I replace the value mu 0 and epsilon 0 for the free space, you are getting the answer is 120 pi. This is the way to derive the intrinsic impedance. Same way, if you are transmitting the same signals in a free space, so already you are knowing in a free space, you have a conductivity should be the 0 and your epsilon, which is similar to the mu 0 and epsilon is equal to epsilon 0, which is the free space permittivity as well as the permeabilities. So it may be possible the alpha tends to the 0, and based on this we can also find out, see, eta is equal to intrinsic impedance for the free space. By just replacing the mu 0 and epsilon 0, you are getting the 120 pi, which is the 377 ohm, which may be required to find out the, if I know the electrical field, I can easily find out the magnetic field, or it may be vice versa. So let me discuss, if the signal which have a electrical field which is present in a x direction, you must have to consider the magnetic field in a y direction. Okay, because the z direction is the direction of the propagation. So you should know only the two parameter, which is the direction of the propagation and which the electrical field or the magnetic field components. So you can easily find out the another field components. So this is exactly the wave representation. So you can easily identify this is the direction of the propagation. The amplitude part is up direction. And similar for this circular wave. So these are the different plane wave representation for the free space. So you can easily identify this is the positive Z and this is the negative Z, and the direction means signal exactly moving in any one of the axes. But the components is a different thing. Components exactly the magnitude, in which direction your magnitude should be the present. Now, based on this, we can easily find out this transverse electromagnetic, because I'm not going to the detail of this different modes. Whatever the wire which we are utilizing in our day-to-day life, like a coaxial cable, simple twisted pair, any kind of your simple conductor which have a copper material, which can support the TEM waves, transverse electromagnetic. TEM waves is supported. Clear? But when you are transmitting the high frequency and when you utilize the waveguide is one of the device which can utilize for the transmission of the higher frequency. Okay, in this case the TEM mode is not supported. They are supported the TE as well as the TM modes. Okay, so based on this they are identified this one word which is considered as a transverse electromagnetic. What is the meaning of this one? Transverse is nothing but a any one of the components which may be a perpendicular to the direction of the propagation. Either it may be a E or either it may be a H. Then and then your waves which is moving. Okay. So more specifically for any particular uh, conductor which is supported this kind of a TEM modes. These are the uh, electromagnetic wave which is moving in a good conductor. So already you are knowing for the conductor your conductivity should be the infinite because they are satisfy J is equal to sigma into the E equation, current density. So in this case conductivity is infinite, so epsilon is equal to epsilon 0 and mu is equal to mu 0 and mu r, and they are modify this parameter of alpha and beta because both the components should be the present, so I can easily find out the intrinsic impedance. So these are the two different values. One is you should know the conductivity, you should know the alpha and beta, and you should know the intrinsic impedance for the conductor, free space, and the dielectric. Now we derive this equation. You can easily identify over here. E is equal to E0 e raised to minus alpha z cos omega t minus beta z. Yeah. And the second is the magnetic field equation H. Similar equation, but instead of this, they are replacing the value which is the intrinsic impedance. You can see this is the intrinsic impedance E0 upon eta. And for the good conductor, intrinsic impedance is this one. Okay. Otherwise, the equation is similar, whatever the equation we derive for the dielectric, and you can easily identify it's a AY term. So magnetic field have a Y components, electrical field have a X components, and both the signals are moving in a positive Z direction because you can see omega t minus beta Z. Next parameter we discuss in a later on, which is something related to a skin effect. Okay, because this is very essential whenever you are given to any particular current to any particular conductor. The main part is your current, which is how much going inside to your diameter of your conductor. Okay, that's why in a market you can identify there are so many variation in a cable. You can just see the thickness of your hands-free device, and you can just see the thickness of your cord cable which may be required to charge your laptop. Okay, in both the cases thickness of the wire is very essential. Okay, so let us discuss this effect which is called the skin depth. So any doubt for this one?
No, sir.
Okay. So I think most probably on next week I'm uploading the next tutorial. Those who are not solved the first 3 tutorial, try to solve it. And there is a one announcement. Tomorrow there is a no lecture. I think tomorrow we have a lecture at 3:30. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think tomorrow you are free. Tomorrow there is a no lecture for this my subject, 3:30. Taken your attendance. Okay, your lecture is finished now.